Hey everyone, welcome to my journey through Metroid, a series where I'm diving into one of the most beloved franchises in all of gaming, as a tribute to one of its biggest fans. So, before we begin, I should probably tell you a little bit about myself and my gaming history. Any of you around my age, you probably, good chance, grew up with the NES, which I did. I had a nice variety of games to play on it. Between my brothers and I, we had a pretty decent collection growing up. And yeah, we loved it. We loved the NES. We loved everything about it. It was an awesome system. Obviously, it was the premier system at the time, so it was all we knew. And there was a lot of great games for it. I fell in love with stuff like Castlevania, Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda, Mega Man, all the big hitters and stuff, and even some of the like lesser known games. Like everyone, I grew up with that system until it kind of aged itself out. New things came along: the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, eventually the N64, which would be my big system. It was like the first real big system that I ever owned, that I got for Christmas, that I absolutely fell in love with. But before those days, it was the NES, and that was the console I played a lot of. I think a lot of my history is attributed to my older brothers, particularly one of my brothers. He used to play the hell out of our NES. I used to watch him days on, watch him play this and beat this game and beat that, Ninja Gaiden, beat Legend of Zelda, beat Castlevanias, everything. He absolutely loved the system, and I loved watching him play it. I was still young at the time, so when the time came that they moved on to Super Nintendo, I still had an NES of my own. What leads us into what leads us into what we're going to talk about in this series is there was a game on there that all of you know and all of you remember by the name of Metroid. A game I absolutely loved, and a game I watched my brother play all the way through and beat. I can still remember the battle with Mother Brain, and just how in awe I was of watching him complete that game. And it wasn't like it was something new, I guess, because I'd watch him beat the Ninja Gaidens, I watched him beat Mega Man, all those kinds of games and stuff. So it was just another one in the fold. But that was the beginning, and what would become a great franchise that he himself would fall in love with. And so I guess why I'm doing this project is mostly for him. We fast forward into the future here, and my relationship with him had always been, we shared a passion for gaming. We played a lot. We played, in the late 2000s, we played a ton of WoW together. He was the one who got me into WoW and got me sucked into that whole world. For those of you that have been there, luckily it only kept me captive for about 2 or 3 years before I gave it up. But he absolutely loved that game. But he loved all of gaming. He was a big gamer at heart. He's been playing since we were kids, and so he and I shared that. We shared a passion for it, and we shared an interest in it. I think of all the brothers I have, which is quite a few, he and I shared that bond for a long time. With up until recent years, we still every month would call each other and talk about new games or what game we were trying here. Or check, did you heard of this new game and stuff like that. So yeah, he was one of the closest people I knew that shared the passion that I had for gaming. And so I guess that leads us to why we're here. And unfortunately, in late October, early November of 2023, he came down with a illness. It hospitalized him for a long time, for several months. And unfortunately, we would end up losing him in March of 2024. And so it was tough. It was tough losing, obviously, a person that you love so much, that you grew up with and stuff. So I think in the time since that's passed, I've realized that of how much I miss those conversations of talking about games with him. I always knew that he had a passion for the Metroid series. When doing some more research and doing some diving into some of his possessions and his belongings, I've kind of uncovered. I always knew Metroid was one of his favorite franchises in gaming, but I never realized how much. I mean, he and I both shared a great passion for Castlevania. It's one of my favorite series, and he loved a lot of like Final Fantasy and things like that. But I discovered in the months since he passed that Metroid was probably his favorite franchise. And for me personally, I'm sorry to say that I've never beat a Metroid game. Now, I'm not completely oblivious to Metroid. I've played many of the games. I know the story pretty well. I've just never really taken the time to deep dive one of them. And that's what's really driven me to where I am right now. Is I think it's time. I think it's time that I deep dive this franchise, that it's time that I start from the beginning and start knocking some of these out. I think I realized that I want to do this as a tribute to him. It was his favorite franchise. He owned just about every game in the series. Actually, I think he's only missing one game out of the entire, 11, 12 game franchise we're at now. So I figured as a tribute to him, let's jump into it. Let me get my thoughts on this franchise. Let's see what I think about it. And let's see if maybe I can connect and find out why he loved it so much. I know that this is going to be quite the undertaking. We're probably looking at this taking me several months, if not years, to complete this entire project, because if you know me, you know that I don't complete games very fast. I play them when I can, and I usually have a couple games in the hole that are being played at the same time. So it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a long journey, and I want to take my time with it. I want to enjoy these games. I'm invested in it. I want to get invested in them and see all they have to offer, see what the gameplay has to offer, what the stories have to offer. Like I said, I'm not oblivious to them. I've played enough of them to know what I'm getting into, but I think it's time to see them to finish. We're going to kick it off with the original. We're going to start from the beginning. We're going to start where it all began, with that 8-bit game that I grew up watching him play. I'm excited. I've already gotten started on the game. I've already done a couple runs of it. I haven't done a completed run yet, but we're run through, so I'm getting myself familiarized with it. I'm just about ready to do a deep dive playthrough of it where I kind of track everything. Now, I understand that the game doesn't have a map, so it's going to be a task to get through, but to be honest, I'm having fun with it so far. So look out for that first video. The first video is going to be Metroid on NES, and we'll go from there. I don't exactly know where the series is going to take me. Don't expect me to go into a chronological release order. I don't know. I want to get to the Prime series, so we are going to hit that at some point in the middle of all this. While I'm probably playing the mainline games, we're going to hit the Prime series, because as you all know, the Switch 2 is going to be coming out most likely at some point this year, which means that Prime 4 is probably just around the corner. So I want to get some of the Prime games knocked out as soon as possible to try to be ready for Prime 4 when it comes out, because one thing I do know is that he has been, like I think anyone else that's been anxiously awaiting it, he was awaiting Prime 4's release. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get into this. I'm hoping that you'll come along with me, and I'm going to share my thoughts. I'm going to share what I think about the game, see if I can pull some inner feelings about these games, and I'm going to share everything. We're just going to talk about these games and talk about what I love about them, what's frustrating about them, what's everything about them. I don't know. We'll see where they take us, but I hope that you come along for the ride. So thank you for watching, and be sure to look out for that Metroid video. Thank you if you stuck around. I appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.